Woody, you head on to law enforcement at some point. This is your kind of what you're known for on your podcast is your law enforcement side of your life. Tell us what kind of led you into law enforcement.
I guess I was such a bad guy when I was young. I was just teasing. Yeah. I don't know. The criminal mind's always fascinated me, and it really has. And when I started in corrections, it just blew me away. Yeah. And I loved it. I mean, that's all I ever wanted to do. You know. Yeah. Fight the bad guy.
Yeah, and especially growing up with parents that were heavy deep into the law. I mean, I'm sure that was a influence for you and all those sorts of things. It's funny. I'm so glad you did when you did your first podcast and talked about some of your prison life as a guard at Angola, I believe was that episode.
Trained at Angola, but it was stationed at Dixon Correctional.
Yeah, Dixon. Okay. So I like those episodes, and it's funny from a podcast listener perspective. There's something for everybody, I guess you could say. And there's some of them that love when you get down and deep and dirty with the murder stories and the investigative stories from your time at the sheriff's office. And there's some that want to hear that those guard stories and the crazy stuff that happens in prison.
A lot of people like the funny stuff, and but I always said law enforcement, and this is true, is the greatest show on earth, or it used to be. And there were so many days, and I'd get off of work where I felt like I should have to pay them for the privilege of working there because I had so much fun with it.
No kidding.
And
that's
just awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, my wife, just a little side note on prisons. My wife is a x-ray tech at Women's Hospital. So she does the mobile mammography. So they go and they do mammograms all over the state of Louisiana. And one of the places she goes is the women's prison. And, you met her in passing one time, but my wife is an unbelievable individual. Yeah, everybody loves her. She's a talker. Imagine that. We get along in that respect. But my wife will sit there and communicate with the prisoners and, so what are you in for? And they love her to death. And so it's funny because she would come home they do this like once a month. They go there and she would come home and I'd be like, so what happened today? Tell me those stories. So it's mind-boggling almost to me how interesting that stuff is, especially in, like you say, law enforcement. And I'm sure it changes every day and all those sorts of things. And there's so many stories you can tell. So you became a prison guard first, and you at some point you ended up at the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. You were recruited by Willie Graves, I believe.
Well, it was an accident, actually. I was at Southeastern PD, and I'd just taken a job with NOPD. They'd gone through the hiring process, et cetera. But I had my own private eye business on my days off, and I had all cops that worked for me because, we work 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off. Yeah. So the days I was working, I had other cops from different departments, my friends, working in my PI business. Sure. And one of them was Adam Rice, and he worked for Willie. And he kept saying, man, you got to come meet Willie Graves. I said, dude, I'm not going to Livingston Parish. Livingston Parish was the butt of the jokes, everything back then. They had nothing. And but on the last, I was just getting ready to report to NOPD. And Adam said, you need to meet, just come over. I was at his house. He said, come to the courthouse with me. We just want you to meet Willie. And I walked in, and he kept me in there, just him and I, almost an hour. And before I left, he offered me the job, and I took it because I read him, and I just knew it was where I was meant to be. Yeah. And that's honest God true. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I've met him a couple times as well, and he is a
real true leader of men. I can tell you that.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I wanted to ask you, so observing strong leaders, learning from strong leaders, this is as important as any other aspect of any business, whether it's law enforcement or sales or running a newspaper, whatever. I'm fortunate, in my BNI group, for example, I'm in a networking group. There's a lady named Trisha Johnston. Trisha Johnston is a realtor for Ladder and Blue Realty. So Trisha is, in my opinion, someone that is just a born leader because she doesn't ever have to say anything about her being a leader. It's the way she carries herself and the way she takes care of her clients. And there's a reflection there to the amount of houses that she sells, those sorts of things. So those are the type of people I want to learn from. And I would imagine when you started at the sheriff's department, that was a person that was of great benefit to you just watching them,
right?
Observing how they led.
What's so crazy about it is coming in to Livingston Parish, not being from here. I knew no one. I knew no one who worked at the office except for Brian Paul Smith, who's now the chief criminal deputy. He and I went to the academy together at LSU. Okay. And to come in and not know anyone put me at somewhat of an advantage because I didn't play politics. I just arrested everybody indiscriminately. And Willie took care of it. He needed to, right? Or district attorney did. I'm talking about, I didn't know the family names, all the big names. I just arrested them all. It didn't matter to me. But I always try, even at corrections and the military or whatever, I always like to watch other people work and try to glean the best things that they do and adapt them to my own, right? And so I did that through whether it was uniform patrol, corrections, detectives, polygraph, whatever, and especially in interview and interrogation, which I'm not conceited, just convinced that that's what I'm the best at.
Yeah.
But I got there by picking little things. Love to watch other people work and adapt their best techniques, maybe, or whatever. Choose the best from them and go with it like that. I don't know how to.
I know exactly what you're saying, and I almost tell people the exact same thing. What I say to people is, I am a observer of people by nature. So I will observe, and I tell them, I'm sponging off you. I will see things that I can take and use to help me in my life, whether it's leadership or whatever. And I'll use that. I'll learn from that. It's an innate ability, I think, for that leaders possess, because inside we know we're leaders, but we're not so arrogant that we don't think we can't learn.
Sure,
we can learn from anybody.
Absolutely. And I think that, not even quantifying it as a leader, I think I just want to be the best. If Woody Overton's name was going on it, I want it to be the best, right? I want it to be to go above and beyond what everybody else did and go the extra mile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Do the best that I could do. That's the way my daddy raised me.